So, good afternoon and welcome to the League Gunner podcast. I've already done one of these. I was lucky enough to get Claudio on. Big up, Claude. Really enjoyed that. It's been a long time coming since I've got the second guest on. Obviously, I've moved country since then, and we're going to go down. We're going to go down memory lane. We're going to speak to the main man, Kenny Ken. Say hello to the people, Kenny.
Hey, I just want to say a big thank you, Lou. It's honoured to be asked to do a going down memory lane with you, and also I just want to say big hello to your subscribers. And you've got a very good channel. I remember when you started it, and within about a month you're nearly on 3,000. So you're doing something right. And the thing about it's about hard work and dedication. You can criticise all you like, but you can't criticise hard work and the ability to actually do your research, find out what your customers like, and market your audience. Obviously, you've worked in those sort of business before, but you're doing a very good job, and I think you'll last, a lot longer than the YouTube channel because you work hard and you, like I said, you're going to diversify. But then again, I hope you do anyway, because you never know. You can't stand still in this game. I've just seen that loads of YouTubers, stand still and their views go down because people know what they're going to say.
Well, thank you very much. That's an introduction, Kenny. You can come on again. I love you, bro. Thank you. Listen, I know you're pressed for time because your battery's on its last legs. So we'll get this as quick as we can. But when I started doing these podcasts or had the idea and brainstormed it, I always wanted Claude on first because a lot of other channels, we won't go down that route of naming them, but a lot of other channels dismiss him, and don't treat him right. And then after that, obviously, I wanted you on as well. And because both of you are a little bit older than me, a little bit more mature, shall we say? Obviously, and growing up in London as well, I wanted you two on first. And I want to do these podcasts slightly differently to the generic type. So I want to go down the route of going, look, let's see your early life Arsenal fan, and we'll move it all the way up to modern day. We'll do it as quick as we possibly can. We'll have a nice chat, and yeah, it'd be great. And obviously, with you growing up in and around North London, and seeing Arsenal change over 4 decades?
4 decades, yeah.
4 decades. But take it all the way back, like to when you first become an Arsenal fan. When was the moment you can first remember in your head that, right, I know what football is now. I'm invested in it. I like it. I enjoy it. That's my team. When was that moment?
Well, the thing is that I became an Arsenal fan, me and my brother, because of my mum. Because I was born in 1972. I was born in Islington. I was born in if you go down Holloway Road, especially around the back of Upper Street, there's a road called Liverpool Road, and that used to be a hospital, and that it used to be the Royal Free. And I was born in that Royal Free in 1972, and then it got closed down and it got moved to the other part of Holloway Road, and everyone got born in Archway. But it was from then our first house was in Albert Park, which is next to the grounds. But I was never really aware of Arsenal. It's my mum always. She tells me that she used to take me as a kid, and that she was trying to Arsenal into me. And I was thinking, yeah. And then Liverpool very successful during that time. Not that I was a Liverpool, so I was never a Liverpool fan, but I admired. I kind of liked the colour red, and then I used to see people like Kenny Dalglish, and I used to see Pat Jennings when he left Spurs to go Arsenal. I was always fascinated because everyone around me supported Arsenal, and my mum was drumming into me. In the end, I went, you know what? Let me just go and support my local club. And then when my mum first took me, I just fell in love with the club. I really fell in love with the club, in terms of I remember us leaving Highbury to move to Crouch Hill, and then from Crouch Hill we moved to the Andover Estate, which is on Finsbury Park, which is just off Durham Road, and it divides Seven Sisters Road and Hornsey Road. Okay. And everyone on the Andover Estate is Arsenal daft, and when I say Arsenal daft, it's unbelievable. Like if there was ever a big game, there used to be big flags outside everyone's window. You used to have the flags, you used to have the posters of the players. In every house was Arsenal, and to the extent that the 1979 FA Cup final lived in the memory for me, because it was the first. Because a lot of the times when I was a kid,
7 at the time, 7.
Yeah, it was 7. Yeah, a lot of the times when Arsenal were on, some people still had black and white TVs, believe it or not, and that was 70s, yeah. Even though colour came into this country in 1967 and came on the BBC One in 69 and ITV 69 as well. I remember us having our first coloured TV in 1979, and I remember the semi-final against Wolves, and I remember us, getting to the final. And I remember it being quite a boring game, actually, because we had a really young Indian sign over Man United. And what it was is that we went 2-0 up, and I thought, oh, nothing of it. And then all of a sudden, believe it or not, it was about 5 minutes ago, it was 2-2. And then, I was only 7. I see what people were talking. The commentator was talking about extra time. I vaguely remember Bobby Charlton being the co-commentator with Johnny Motson, and I was thinking, what's extra time? What? Don't they share a trophy? And then before you know it,
bang.
It bang. Alan Sunderland goes and makes it 3-2, and the game's over, and you can see the Man United players fall on the ground. I thought it was hilarious, by the way, and that's it. There was like street parties all over Andover Estate, all over Islington, and there was like a massive commotion the day afterwards. And I was thinking, where is everyone? I said, where you all going? And then it was like everyone said, oh, we're going up to Holloway Road. I said, why are you going up Holloway Road? Because there's a bit of a parade. I said, what? Because we won the cups? Yeah, we all do it. We won the cups 7, Because I do remember, the year before that, bloody Russell Osmond. Roger Osborne.
Roger
Oh
Osborne.
my God, 1978. I really remember that. But it was like it was very subdued that before that, because I knew Arsenal was the final. And you still see the flags, but it was like we expected to win. And then Willie Young, and Pat Jennings, got put the wrong way, shot by Ros Longman. I remember feeling like not feeling it too much because it was only 1979 that I got the bug. I remember seeing my mum very upset. People around all over the estate, Dan Cosp, and then we got there a year afterwards, and that was probably one of the best times ever. And then because we got to the final again in 1980, I expected us to do it
row,
again.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was actually quite funny because at the time, obviously, our mate, no one was there to take me to the game, take me to the final. But I do remember going to a few games that season. And one thing I noticed about Arsenal as well is that I'm from Finsbury Park, and I'm a Roman Catholic. And if you're a Roman Catholic in Finsbury Park and you went to Roman Catholic school, most of the kids are Irish. So one thing I noticed is that Arsenal has 7 Irishmen in the side. When I was going in the sort of the early 80s, you had Pat Jennings in goal, you had Rice at right back, you had Sammy Nelson at left back, you had Johnny Devine, you had David O'Leary, you had Frank Stapleton, Liam Brady. So that it was like virtually an Irish team. And we had another guy in the reserves called Johnny Gorman as well. And Terry Neal was from Northern Ireland. So I thought, hang on, we're an Irish. I thought we were an Irish club. So every Irish person I saw around London, I thought if they didn't support Arsenal, I said, well, you got to support Arsenal. We're Irish. We're an Irish club, isn't it? And again, you're young, and you kind of get those sort of memories. You think, all these silly little songs. We all agree Arsenal are magic and Liverpool is tragic. You had all that thing, and I do remember as a kid that a few people in the estate supported Tottenham, and I remember that I thought that's when I first got the sort of hatred for Tottenham, because I thought, well, all my mates hate Spurs, but those other kids on the estate supported Tottenham, and some had the audacity to have Tottenham shirts when we were playing football in the pens in Andover Estate, and some even had the audacity to actually go to the games. And then the worst couple of years of my life, what happened was that when Arsenal stopped getting to Wembley. We didn't win anything for 8 years, and in between that time, I had to endure Spurs winning the FA Cup in 1981 and 1982, winning the UEFA Cup.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and it was, and I was always told that Spurs played the better football. So when I was going Arsenal as a kid, I always went with an adult. And the first time my mum let me go on my own was when I was 12. And she said, "Here's £2.50, and here's some money for you."
£2.50 can't get you a coffee there now.
Yeah, and it was actually the reason why I hold it that memory dear, because obviously there was loads of games I was going to. I remember the 1983 semi-finals against Man United in the Milk Cup when they thrashed us. I also remember the beating Villa in 1983 in the quarter final. But it was like the 84. I was 12 years old, and I remember the first game that I went on my own, and I was actually a mate of mine who was 9. I took my brother who was 10, and it was the 17th of December, 1984. We played Watford. The late Tommy Caton was our centre half. Johnny Lukic was in goal. Charlie Nicholas played for us. Yep, Champagne Charlie. Ian Allison was, couldn't stop scoring for us. He was there because I know Tony Woodcock was injured that time. He didn't play. And I remember we played, it was 1-1. It was Ian Allison took a penalty, Tony Coton saved it, and he put the rebound in. It was a very bad penalty, by the way. And I remember with about 5 minutes to go, Les Taylor of Watford made it 1-1. And I just got the bug. And then after that, I remember going to the North London Derby that year when we lost 2-1. We were 1-0 up. Stuart Robson got our goal, and then bloody Mark Farco and Garth bloody Crooks got the winner. And I remember looking over to North Bank and Spurs.
He was a better footballer than he is a pundit. Put it that way, Garth.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things where watching Spurs fans celebrate, because it was. I remember the season before that we bashed them home and away. Trying to stop scoring, but that season it was kind of one of a bad season for Arsenal, because it's when I remember Terry Neal getting sacked the year before, and that was when the first time when I noticed a crowd discontent, because I know there was a few games where we lost at home in that season, 83, 84, when we lost to Walsall at home in the Milk Cup 2-1, lost to West Brom, Coventry turned us over, Sunderland, and I think it was his last game before he got sacked was West Ham away when we lost 3-1. And then a few days afterwards, I noticed a lot of the dads, and a lot of the adults, my mum included, there was a lot of protests. So what are you talking about? He said, "Oh, we're going to the town hall." I said, "What for?" "To protest to get Terry Neal out of the club." I went, "Really?" I said, "I bet it doesn't work." And then 3 days later, Dennis, Peter Hillwood makes that dreaded decision and sacks Terry Neal. So that's the first time I remember the sacking. I remember you've got the Don Howe years as well, which, how can I say it? How can I say it? It was hard. It was a hard watch. It was a very hard watch, because we were difficult to beat, but we didn't really trouble the teams in certain tournaments. In Don Howe's first full season in 84, 85, we came 7th, and we got knocked out of the FA Cup by York City. Peter Houchin in 85, and then the year afterwards we finished 7th again. We got to semi-final. We got to the quarterfinals of the League Cup, lost to Aston Villa, and then we lost to Luton Town in the 5th round of the FA Cup. So before that time, it was kind of accepted that Arsenal wouldn't win anything. Well, from me anyway. But it was just a nice atmosphere. No, you could go to football, win, lose, or draw. You just enjoyed it. There wasn't much.
Literally down the road.
Yeah.
So it's like that's my team.
Yeah, definitely. It was all it was that all you did was you went out the back of Andover Estate, you got into Seven Sisters Road, walked as far as the traffic lights, turn on your left, went down a betting shop, go through St Thomas's Road, turn straight to the North Bank, and there you are, Avondale Road. Pay you £2.50. And you're in.
Back in the day, you could pay on the gate, innit?
Pay on the gate. I know there used to be some friends of mine who used to sort of do, that little thing where you used to wait for kickoff. You wait for kickoff, and then after about 10 minutes, some of them used to sneak in. But what the guy used to do, the guy in the gate, the Irish bloke in the gate, used to say, "Well, if you can crawl through, you're in." But there were certain days, some friends of mine were told that if it was like Man United at home, where it's really packed with fans, then there's no way you can get in, because it was a crush situation. And so it was those sort of years that I really enjoyed. But I ain't gonna lie, when George Graham came to the club, it was probably one of my best times as an Arsenal fan. And it was even the reason why is because you just went. It was even like his first few games. We lost our first 2 games. We beat Man United first game of the season. I went to that game 1-0. China was scored, and then we lost a couple of games, including a game against Liverpool where we lost 2-0. And then we just went on that run where we went during that season 86, 87. We went on about 23 or 24 games unbeaten until Man United beat us at Old Trafford. But what I liked about George's teams is that he brought the youngsters through. You know, Adams became a fixture in the side. Martin Hayes, who we nearly sold to Huddersfield, was our top goal scorer that season with about 19 goals in the league, but 24 goals. Rocky came through. He was a great player. So, you know, Johnny Lukic, Viv Anderson was our senior player. Kenny Sampson was still a fixture on the side. And, you know, later in that season, Paul Merson came through, and we had Paul Davis. And we were quite, you know, there was a time when we actually were challenging for the league. Obviously, we knew we were going to win it, but when you go through that run, we've got some really good results. And obviously, the games I enjoyed most that season was the games against Tottenham Hotspur. The first, you know, the North London derby. Can't, you know, go into one of those games. I went to the game when it was 2-1 at their ground in the league. Tony Adams got the first goal. Big Tone. Paul Davis get the free kick, and then Mitchell Thomas pulled it back to 2-1. Obviously, because I was, you know, studying for my GC and everything. Obviously, I didn't have the privilege of going to the Rocky game, but I did go to the game when they won 1-0 through Clive Allen, and it was one of those seasons where it was just that run to the final when the Little's Cup. You know, everyone trying to get tickets. Sometimes, if you know, some people are unlucky to miss out. But it was just like Liverpool, still the best team in the land. They won the double the year before, getting them Wembley. Rush, every time Ian Rush scored, Liverpool never lost. Never lost. Never lost. And they went 1-0 up, and then you just thought the worst. And then at the time you thought the worst. But when Charlie Nicholas got that equaliser, you thought, you know what? I thought we could have win this. And then it was the first trophy we had in about 8 years. And then obviously you had the parade, which was fantastic. But I was just thinking, you know what? There was just something about those players and about George Graham as a manager. I just thought, you know what? It was a long shot because you thought Liverpool's success would be forever. But I thought if anyone could challenge Liverpool and Everton, because Everton were massive that season as well. Because remember they won the title in 86, in 87. I thought slowly Georgie might be building something. And the next season we got to the League Cup final again. Let's not talk about Gus Caesar, please, because I actually, you know what, I wanted to cry. The reason why I cried is because I don't know how a team can play so well in a final and lose. It hurt because even though Luton Town went 1-0 up, we went up 2-0. We went 2-1 up. You know, goals from Martin Hayes and Alan Smith. I was thinking, you know what? How the hell are we Luton not out of sight? The saves Dibble made that game. He made save after save after save. And I was thinking, and then we had a penalty where Nigel Winterburn normally blasts it, but he decided to place it, and Dibble saved that as well. And then I remember, Gus Caesar, getting fouled. At first, I thought it was a foul by Danny Wilson, but when you look back at it a few years later, Gus Caesar slipped, and then that was it. It was 2-2, and then you still thought, well, we're dominating this. We're going to go up the other end and score. And then before you know it, Brian Steen scores his second goal, and that was it. And I was thinking, how can this happen? This is just not fair.
You know what's funny? Fair. Well, his brother Mark Steen dated my auntie for years. Yeah, and it was around that time as well. Yeah, because she lived in Stocksley in Luton. Yeah, which is literally around the corner from Luton Town. Yeah. And they met in a nightclub. Yeah, Brian Steen introduced her brother Yeah, they were together for about 3 years, I think. Yeah, it was mad. That's crazy. But yeah,
Yes.
that was my first. That was my first memory of Arsenal losing to Luton. Yeah, that was my first ever Arsenal memory. But my first game was actually 5-2 loss to Tottenham. Yeah, and Graham Rix's testimonial.
Yeah,
we lost 5-2.
Rixie.
We lost 5. Oh yeah, less said about him, the better right now as well.
Well, you think about Graham Rix is that, you know, as a footballer, as an Arsenal player, he can't be anything other than a legend. Obviously, he's been punished for his crime, you know, and he served his time. He admitted what he'd done, but you know, it's one of those things where you can only kick someone in the ground for too long. You know, hopefully Rixie finds peace for himself, and you know, like I said, he has to move on, but he has to accept that this is going to be with him for the rest of his life for what he'd done, which is sad.
Yeah, it totally overshadows anything he'd done for Arsenal, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, it's bad when stuff like that comes out. Yeah, obviously, look, he's done the punishment off the back of it, but that just totally. As soon as people mention his name, it's the first thing they think about. Yeah,
but he did it himself. He knew the situation. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and so he can only accept, you know, that he's just, you know, scarred for the rest of his life.
Let me move on to 89, right? Because I remember, like you said, that you were around 7-ish when you were starting to go to games, like, and my first real yes was 7 years old. Well, I was just on the brink of 7. I was about a week away from being 7, and I remember my dad let me watch that game at Anfield. Yeah, and he was saying to me, because like my dad used to be like Millwall, like he used to go Millwall quite a lot. Yeah, and then they moved up to Milton Keynes. He started coming away from football. They got pregnant with me, and he just came out of it all really. But when I found out, because obviously my surname's Gunner, as you know, yeah. When I found out, and then I was like, okay, now see us lose to Luton, yeah, and then everyone at school back then was either Man United, yeah, or Liverpool. And then I've started really getting the grasp of football and stuff like that. And then I realised what my surname was in association with Arsenal. So I was like, that's the team. So when it comes to that Anfield 89, I'll never forget this fight. My dad sat there and he said to me, he goes, don't think you're going to win it tonight. I said, what do you mean? He goes, nah, you ain't beating Liverpool. He goes, I'll let you stay up. I'll let you stay up and watch it. I think it was on BBC One, wasn't it, back then? Right? He goes, I'll let you stay up and watch it. And for me, that was like, I've just won the lottery now. Yeah, it's like, wow, you let me stay up past 7 o'clock. Yeah, and they moved it to a Friday, didn't they? It was Friday the 26th. And he said, you ain't gonna beat them. Liverpool are the best team in the world. They're unbelievable. There's no way you're keeping a clean sheet, and there's no way you're going to score 2. Ain't happening. I swear to God, at the end of that game, I'll never forget this. He goes to me, he goes, yeah. He goes, I think you deserved that, didn't you? I just looked at him, I was like, I didn't know what I meant. But I'll never forget that. Yeah, he let me sit. I was glued to the TV on the floor. Yeah, just glued in. He looked at me, like, yeah, I think you deserved that. And I'm like, when you look back at it now, I realise what a massive achievement that was. But when you're 6, 7 years old, it's just a good football game, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but what was your memory of that? Obviously, you're a lot.
Well, it was actually where, obviously, God bless their souls, we lost fans that season at Hillsborough. And that's something you're never going to forget. We're never going to forget, because it was a situation where us football fans, especially the match-going fans, were treated like the lepers, and treated like, you know, basically something that, you know, you got trodden on because of, you know, 85, where Margaret Thatcher basically wanted to. Basically, she wanted the game to be written off. She thought that everyone who went to football were hooligans. She thought that football attracted the bad sort. So she didn't want a future for football. So what was happening is that anyone who went to football who was involved in any sorts of organised violence were getting stiff prison sentences. And when I mean stiff, she weren't messing around. After what happened in Heysel in 85, she weren't messing around. So it was one of those seasons where, you know, we're still standing. And one of those seasons where we were playing some fantastic football, because we've got Brian Wild that season from Sheffield Wednesday. We had Rocky on on the right hand side. Alan Smith was playing his second season. Obviously, his first season was in 87, 88, where he bedded himself in. But that season he was fantastic. And then we had a situation where we had Bold and Adams, but there were times when George was playing a back three as well with O'Leary. See, everyone talks about a back three being a modern thing, but Georgie Graham, Georgie Graham was playing a black three for most of that season.
Mm.
And Nutty Winterburn was the established left back. Kevin Richardson, who we signed the season before in '87, we actually signed him from Watford. He was actually part of Everton's championship winning team in '85. And he was kind of a holding midfielder alongside Paul Davis. So he was one of those players where we had a bit of flair, but we had hard workers as well. But if you looked at a season as that, throughout the season, there was only one team going to win it, and that was us. We were flying from about
towards the end. The wobble came in, didn't it?
Because Liverpool were nowhere. Liverpool level, we were comfortably winning. But if you looked at March, we were comfortably winning that game, winning that league. But what was going on in the background from the 1st of January 1989, Liverpool lost against Man United. And from then on, they went on this unbelievable, quite quietly, because there was a lot of murmurs around Liverpool that maybe they'd lost their aura. There were situations where Kenny Dalglish wanted more control of Liverpool. Bob Paisley was saying he wasn't being consulted. But if you look at the Liverpool team, there was one player that was kind of dragging them through, and it was Stevie Nicol. He was basically playing every position that season, and he actually went on to win the player of the season, the Football Writers Player. That's how good a season he was having. But we had a bit of a blip, and it got so bad towards April. Liverpool were neck and neck, and then we had a few games where I thought we lost it, because we had a massive game that I went to when we thrashed Norwich 5-0, played fantastically well. Nigel Winterburn, I remember one of the goals being a scream from Nigel Winterburn. And then we had Derby. Derby lost 2-1. Bloody D, and he's using his pace. And then, because Tony Adams again, bad boy Tony, gave away a penalty. And then I remember there was a game where we had a game in hand where we had to play Wimbledon. And then
the Wimbledon
Wimbledon game, and then Liverpool had a game after the cup final when they had to play West Ham. Now we all knew that if we won that game, the title would have been like I said, we'd have made it very difficult for Liverpool. But if Liverpool won that game against West Ham, they'll be 3 points ahead, and we had to go Anfield to win by 2 clear goals. But in terms of the Wimbledon game, it started off really well, that game, because I was at the game with some guys from Saturday Wishes. I went to secondary school in Archway, and we all said, let's get to the game. So we went to the game. First minute, no word of a lie, Nigel Winterburn on his right foot scored a screamer from 25 yards. He cut in, and I thought Nigel Winterburn used his right foot to put all his weight on to stop him from getting a bad back. But he hit it like a rocket. He hit it like a rocket. And he went, Hans Seegers was in goal for Wimbledon, right in the top corner. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, Wimbledon getting an equaliser. I think it got their goals. Yeah, it was I think it was Cork. It was Cork who got the goal for Wimbledon. Don't quote me wrong. And then all of a sudden, second half, Paul Merson on a turn, bashes it in the top corner, 2-1 up, that's game done. And then within about 5 minutes ago, a little known player who hardly ever played Wimbledon, a guy called Miller from Dublin, basically took a shot. It must have bounced about 3 times. And it's kind of slowly went in past Johnny Lukic.
Slow motion, isn't it? It
was like a shot that he hit so badly that if he hit it true, Johnny Lukic would have saved it. But because it like kind of bounced a couple of times, he went in the corner of the net, and you thought, that's it. Everyone who left the ground was despondent. We thought the league was gone. We generally thought that was it, over. Over. Then Liverpool win the FA Cup in a very emotional game. It's Anfield. We didn't expect to win, all right? George Graham was the only person who probably thought we were going to win it, because I didn't think we'd win it. I don't know what the players thought, but that is when George Graham came in his own as a manager, because I now know at the time, even though I was getting frustrated, is that I remember watching the first half. You had your family members around you, and I remember thinking, you know what? There's nothing happening in this game, but Liverpool look more nervous than us, and yet they were at 0-0 at half time than us, because normally Liverpool sides with Johnny Barnes, Johnny Aldridge, Peter Beardsley,
Oh, what?
McMahon,
Team.
yeah,
What a team
McMahon,
was,
Whelan as well, and Nickel. I thought they were going to bury us. I thought they were going to come around and serenade their fans with a title. But second half, I just felt that we just went on another gear, and I thought Liverpool were retreating, and then I just remember that free kick by Nutty Winterburn, and I don't care what anyone says, that Alan Smith got a course. Ronnie Whelan says, I don't give what he says. That goal was a goal. All right. Sorry, Liverpool fans. I know you're going to be watching this because we're going out live. But I'm sorry. Alan Smith touched the ball. Sorry. Then we still didn't think we were going to win it, but I was just being all right. We won 1-0. We showed heart. We've equalled Liverpool's points tally.
it was close.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
But then I started watching it. I said, wait on here. The only time that Liverpool really troubled Lukic was when Ian Rush had that shot from 30 yards, which went straight into his tummy. And I was thinking, wait on here. Last few minutes, I remember Michael Thomas getting a chance where he actually got through the goal, and then he got kind of sandwiched between Nickel and Gary Ablett, and he managed to toe poke it, and he went straight at Grobbelaar. I thought, right, that's it, the chance has gone.
That's the last chance.
Nothing on it. And then I remember Johnny Barnes, is trying to put a cross in and take it in front of, and I thought, well, okay, let's just get this over and done with. And then I just remember Lukic being involved. I remember Kevin Richards being involved, and all of a sudden I just remember Smithy holding the ball up, turning, and Michael Thompson's gone through, and it's kind of a ricochet, and one of the Liverpool defenders. I'm thinking, shit, oh my god, it's through.
It's up for grabs here.
Yeah. And, I didn't even listen to Brian Moore, because obviously Brian Moore's commentary is legendary, but it's up for grabs now. Come on. I know it. I said, please just put it in. As soon as he put it in, I thought, oh shit. I thought, oh my God, Ray Houghton's going to tackle him. Just put it in. I thought, right, if Ray Houghton tackles him, hopefully the referee gives a penalty and we'll score for the penalty spot. But when he poked it in, it was like slow bloody motion. And when the ball hit the net, I went, oh my God, we're champions. I thought, oh my God, in my lifetime, Arsenal won the championship. Arsenal not meant to win the championship. Only teams like Everton, Liverpool win the championship. Only teams like even Aston Villa are meant to win it before us, even not the Forest. I mean, Arsenal win the league. In my lifetime. I mean, the double winning team is 71, literally. But I've seen Arsenal win the league, and all the people used to make fun of me because we never used to win trophies. Now we've won the league. I thought,
and
this is unbelievable.
The home of the best team in the world at the time.
Yeah.
In the last minute.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember I remember the game, and I was thinking, right, please. I didn't even know anything about injury time, but I thought, hang on it's 90 minutes, and Brian Moore says the game's over, but how comes we've still got to play another 3 or 4 minutes? What's going on here? I was thinking, please. And then when the final whistle went, what I did is I went to a friend's house, because I was from Andover Estate, and if anyone lives in Andover Estate will know that the neighbouring estate to Andover Estate, if you go through Durham Road, is 6 acres. So I remember running to 6 acres, so a mate of mine knocked on the door, and I kind of grabbed it, and another one mates, we started grabbing each other, and it was like one of those things. I thought, oh shit, I left the front door open in my house, so I had to go back, and then I kind of and then I went to celebrate. How could anyone know? And then everyone went, well, we're gonna have to go Highbury, aren't we? I said, what for? He said, well, to celebrate you, bloody. So Highbury, and I didn't drink then, and then I just remember the parade. 2 days later, I just couldn't believe it. I just remembered Perry Gross, who I know very well because I'd done some TV work with him in 8 years ago for the Euros. I just remember Perry Groves just looking completely up and utterly out of it. I remember Tony Adams slouching about. I remember Paul Merson going absolutely crazy, steps of the tunnel. And I just remember Kevin Richardson and Perry Groves just going, Utu B, Utu B up, good up. And I was thinking, this has got to be the best day of my life. I couldn't believe it. Arsenal Football Club, who are basically a big club, a sleeping giant, but not as big as Man United, as Liverpool, have broken Liverpool's domination.
It's mad.
And I was there and I witnessed it. And I thought, right, I was just happy with the league, because I thought I'll never see it again. And then, the season after was a bit of a damp squib because we went out the FA Cup pretty early. We went out the league. We actually went out the League Cup pretty early as well. I remember us beating Liverpool on the way, but losing to Oldham of all times. They beat us 3-1.
The cups, didn't we? We've lost it. Right, rubbish.
Yeah, and it was. And by the way, he went up from. It was about £3 during that season when we won the league, and then he went up a £5 in about 1990. So I just let you know that the prices went up, but it's still affordable. So I was still at secondary school in Archway, anyway. And then even when I went to university, that's when they started to go all ticket. But it's one of those things where the season afterwards, 1990, 91, it's like there was a bit of feel-good factor in English football because basically, England got to the World Cup semi-finals. You had the Gaza and the tears. No Arsenal players were in the squad, by the way, because remember David Seaman hadn't signed with us. Because I remember David Seaman was about to be a deadline signing in 1990, but John Lukic refused to go the other way to Queen's Park Rangers. Because a little known fact is that Bob Wilson actually used to be the goalkeeper coach of both John Lukic and David Seaman. A little bit of trivia there.
That's true, that. I've actually knocked on Bob Wilson's front door for double glazing. He lives in Stevenage. Yeah, massive house. Jesus Christ. But I knew that actually. I did know that. He was the.
And it's so they've obviously Bob Wilson are very close to this day, and I think Johnny Lucas is still close to him as well. So I was just thinking, right, that season, right, believe it or not, 11 games in, the league was going to be between three teams: Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham, because that's the first 11 games. Spurs were unbeaten, Arsenal unbeaten, and so Liverpool. And then what was happening is that Liverpool played Spurs at the White Hart Lane. You know what happened there? Spurs went lost. Story of their life, mate. Yeah. And afterwards, it became Spurs kind of slipped down the table. But it was one of those times where obviously Spurs become a bit of a cup team. We'll talk about that one later. But that season, we were immaculate. We were unbeatable. It's probably the second best league title side ever. Second to Arsene Wenger's 2002 double winning side. I regard the double winning side of 2002 and the 1991 George Graham's title side superior to the Invincibles. I really do.
That 91 season, people don't do that enough credit. Yeah, that season when we lost. When we lost to Chelsea, with 2-1, wasn't it, to Chelsea? I think we had Michael Thomas at centre back that day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tony Adams.
That's what Michael Thomas.
Tony Adams was in jail. It was just ridiculous. And if we'd had the famous back four that evolved,
we won it. We would have been. That would have been invincible.
Yeah, all day long, invincible.
Before anyone says, he's criticising Invincibles, I'm not criticising Invincibles. But what I'm trying to say is you can never take anything away from Invincibles. But in terms of footballing terms, I just felt that Arsene Wenger's 2002 double win side was a better team than the Invincibles, and I thought George's Graham side 91 was not. So it's not a dig at Arsene Wenger because I still think that he's the best ever side I saw was an Arsene Wenger side anyway in 2002. But that season 91, Imperious, we were Imperious. We went.
How many goals? What was it? 16, 18 goals or something we conceded that season. Ridiculous, wasn't
sorry, 16, 18 goals, and we actually battered teams. We went to Liverpool, won. Paul Merson again, 1-0, and then we beat Liverpool 3-0. I was at the game. I remember the North London derby being actually a ball, and actually the one at their ground was 0-0 as well. Another game that I went to. But I was looking at the season. I remember us battering Chelsea 4-1. I remember us, like giving Man United a tonkering. And it was actually that season, which was extraordinary. We actually got 6-2 in the League Cup to Man United that season. And my brother went in my place. For some reason, I just said, right, it's yours, you go. Because we swapped the money. And he went, oh, no, because I thought nothing about this. And I said, don't score. So, do you want to know score? So, I'm going to watch it on midweek sports special. Do not spoil it. You need to sit down, mate. I said, look, please don't spoil it for me. I gave you the ticket to go. I didn't want to go, and you're going to my place. Don't spoil it. No kids, sit down. I said, all right, what happened? What's the score? He said, 6-2. I went, 6-2, what? We lost 6-2. And what? We lost 6-2 that season. That match. So I thought, so instead of watching the game, I've missed out on the game to give it to my brother. It's a good decision I made anyway. And then I had to go through, because I didn't believe him, because remember we didn't have Sky Sports that time, 24-hour TV. I had to go and watch it on midweek sports special, and it was bloody true. And bloody Lee Sharp got an hat-trick.
Lee Sharp. He was a quality player, Lee Sharp, back then, wasn't he?
Jesus. Yeah, well, that's another Lee. And then that's it, 91. I think after that, George kind of lost his way a bit, because I think what's happening is that with the introduction, with Man United actually got a great side with Giggs, Ken Shelskis, and also they had Sharp coming through, Mark Hughes still playing. Let's see that season. Then when the Premiership came along, there was a time in the 91, 92 season where after one of the best football I've ever seen was actually George Graham's side, believe it or not, was in 91, 92 season where we knew we weren't going to win the league, but from January onwards, we played some unbelievable football. I remember being at a game where we beat Liverpool 4-0 when Landers Limpar lobbed Mike Cooper from about 50 yards.
Player.
I remember being at a game where we beat Sheffield Wednesday 7-1. I remember drawing with us drawing with but we've just beaten teams home and away. We'll match for him. I remember going to West Ham.
And that's no way. Boring Arsenal.
Trust me, that second half battered teams. We were ruthless. Kevin Campbell was like a battering ram. Alan Smith was kind of had a bit of an injury, but it was actually Ian Wright's first season with us. Ian Wright, and I tell you now, Ian Wright and Kevin Campbell were actually monsters in front of goal. And I don't mean it in a sort of like biblical sense. I mean it in a footballing sense. Kevin Campbell, trust me, the way he held the ball up, the way he just turned, and the way he volleyed it at the top corner, especially a goal he scored against Sheffield Wednesday. I remember the season after when the Premiership first started, Andy Gray made his title favourites, and he the player that he loved and fell in love with was Kevin Campbell. But it's one of those things where Blackburn had their money.
Striker was Andy Gray, by the way. He was quality.
Brilliant striker for brilliant for Wolves, Everton, Aston Villa before that, and but it was just one of those things where during the last few years of the George Graham's years I just remember Blackburn having a lot of money through Mike Walker. I remember Norwich. Sorry, but you said Jack Walker. Sorry, guys, not Mike. Jack Walker. I remember Norwich. Having a very good side there. Under Mike Walker. Ian's dad, and they finished third. I remember Aston Villa. That season, Big Ron.
Big Ron Atkinson. I won't say what I was going to say after that, but
Big Ron, and then Man United just won the title, their first title they won after 26 years, and that was it. We were dead.
Dominated.
So they won. And they actually dominated. We were nowhere. We were a very good cup side under George in 92, 93, where we had the two cup finals at Sheffield Wednesday. Very good memories. Nice memories.
Deliberately.
Yeah. We won the Coca-Cola Cup. We also won the FA Cup. You know, Chris Woods, thanks for the assist. I see Annie Nilligan doesn't live far in Harpenden, and I always give Annie Nilligan a nice little smile. You know, after what he'd done with us, broke his nose that day. Mark Bright, naughty.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Saw that elbow.
Yeah.
And
I'd always remember this when I was little, right? I would never forget this because back then that was '93, so I was 11. I'll never forget Steve Morrow wheeling away. Yeah, I'll never forget that picture where I'll never forget that. That for me, like obviously Luton Town, that was like I knew of the game. I didn't really understand it. Then Anfield, I was still it's just a game. But by that stage, I'm fully like, Arsenal's my team. Yeah, and I'd already been to games, like I said, Graham Rix's testimonial, which was October 1990, I think it was. And
we got fresh by Tottenham, right?
Yeah, and Steve Morrow, I'll never forget. I wasn't at the game, but I'll never forget watching it on TV. And he's just wheeling away in that game, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. I'll never. And Paul Merson. Yeah, Paul Merson in them cup finals was absolutely quality.
Yes,
he was brilliant.
Well, I remember the first game. He actually won the player of the match, and Alan Hargate a trophy in the game at Sheffield Wednesday in the league in the Coda Cup final that day, where basically Sheffield Wednesday for some reason were favourite because they were playing some beautiful football. They had John Sheridan. Then Chrissy Waddle, oh my God, Chrissy Waddle, what a player. That season, in 92-93, Chrissy Waddle played some of his best stuff ever. If you think about Chrissy Waddle at Marseille and at Tottenham, that season, Chrissy Waddle, oh my God. He was brilliant. Chris, and I was scared to play Sheffield Wednesday. And also they had the hard-working Carlton Palmer. They had what's it? Paul Woolhurst who was actually a centre half that season.
Wasn't Des Walker still playing? He was there then, wasn't he? Des Walker?
No, Des Walker was at Sampdoria at that time. He was at Sampdoria.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But what was happening in that season? Paul Woolhurst basically played up front because Dad had an injury. So Paul Woolhurst played up front because he's got a lot of players. And guess what? He couldn't stop scoring. Paul, you know what I mean? And then I remember in the cup final, he got moved to centre half because David Hurst came back and
he scored.
David Hurst scored in the first game, and I remember Paul Woolhurst not being too happy. But I remember that game, the first game in the FA Cup final, was actually quite boring. Actually, it was both teams didn't want to lose. You know, Sheffield Wednesday for all their great football.
It went to replays back then, didn't it? Yeah. Now we're settling it. We're settling it now. None of this replays like it used to be. So it could be 2 or 3 replays.
I do remember the replay on the Thursday. I remember it was a Thursday. We won 2-1. Obviously that's what I'm talking about. I just remember the Sheffield Wednesday game being a bit empty, and I thought a bit sad about it. I thought sometimes I remember, obviously it's difficult for their fans to get all the way down from Yorkshire to come again. And I thought it was kind of a bit anticlimactic when you go to a cup final where a trophy is presented and you see empty seats, but you understand it. You know what I mean? And then obviously a year later we had Copenhagen again, where we had no right to win that game. I remember, the run on the way there. I remember playing Paris Saint-Germain. They weren't they were still a big side, but they weren't as good as the side they have now. I remember David Ginola playing for them and George Weah. I think, I remember George Weah. I remember watching the semi-final at Highbury. George Weah was playing for them as well, and I thought that even though we won the game, I thought that was a very good performance of them, and it was very pleasing in the eye. But getting that goal and Ian Wright getting that goal in Paris. And Ginola calling Arsenal a bunch of louts. I love that.
Salty at all, was he? And then he went to Tottenham.
Tottenham. I loved all that. But I just remember the semi-final feeling a bit sorry for Ian Wright because second booking, then he was going to miss the final. And I think Wright he does wear his heart on his sleeve. And I just remember him being in tears. I thought, we've lost him. Then we've lost him. And I think, and we now know that Lee Dixon. Had a word with him and just said, "Look, we need you out there, man, and we'll try and win it for you." Because I know George Graham was very empathetic. He was telling him, right, oh, look at you, big baby, blah blah blah, and he's actually trying to get him to snap out of it. He was actually
that was George Graham's like managerial style. You're not a baby. Just grow up. Yeah, and that's like I him because he had so much respect, didn't he, in and around Arsenal. The manager, that if he had a dig at you, you'd be like, oh, I want to prove it. Like Fergie, not to the same degree. Fergie would coat you off, even if you played well. So then when Fergie did praise you, it was like, oh my God, it's a big thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That was similar to George Graham, man. People don't, I love all these stories, man. Like, people don't realise how big and great a manager George Graham was in the day, man.
And that's the thing. And that's why I get really upset that he isn't respected. And his best achievement, which is probably just as good as winning the league, was that game in Parma. We had 2 holding mid players. We had players like Martin Keown, Ian Selly, David Hillier. We had no Ian Wright.
Yeah.
You know, we had no Ian Wright. We basically had a patched up team, and you know, Parma had players like Brolin, Zola, Aspria. They had Sensini and Musi. They had Apolloni.
Parma back then, for everybody who doesn't know this, right? Parma back then, Italian football back then, was probably the best league in the world back then, really, wasn't it?
Definitely.
It was unbelievable.
And I think they had Gianluca Pagliuca in goal. They should have thrashed us. But then again, a George Graham masterclass, basically say to Palmer, you can have the ball, but the last third, you're not getting past their players. If you're going to have any, like I remember, Brolin. I remember Brolin, Aspria having a shot and Seaman putting it over. But I remember Brolin at the post, and I think with Zola having a bit of chance. But after that, we kept it quiet. Alan Smith scores a nice little volley, and that's it. But season afterwards was the beginning and end for George Graham, and it all started. We all knew something was up that season because there was a lot of newspaper stories, and there was, I saw a video going around where he got questioned by a Danish reporter about the John Jensen transfer and Paul Loderson. And I remember them going, "Did you get anything out of it?" And George Graham went, "Oh, me," and then me, and then he kicks him out. And I thought, this story's just not going away. Something's just not right here. Everyone takes bungs here, right? We know the first time we actually knew about it, we always suspected managers took bungs. But the first time we actually knew about it was when Alan Sugar out with Brian Clough because he was having a court case with Tony Venables. Because Alan Sugar didn't understand why managers had to be get paid to facilitate a transfer. So I remember it just wasn't going away. I remember newspapers being all over it, and then I remember the FA inquiry, and I thought, you know what, the club are going to sell George out here. And by the time the football was actually very boring, and let's be honest, that probably was on his last legs anyway. But to sack him, I thought, Jesus Christ, you sacked the manager who's won 2 titles.
He's won a cup,
cup double. He's won, he won in Europe, and in 9 years you've brought us unlimited success, and you sacked him.
I think even to this day, obviously because of the longevity of Wenger, I think he's still got the best games to trophies or years to trophies ratio of any manager in Arsenal history. And that is
definitely
that should be celebrated. He was quality, mate.
And that's what hurt. But we had Stuart Houston, who was a caretaker manager. I know he wasn't getting on with Ian Wright, but we managed to get to the final where we got to the final in Paris, of all places. Not Saint-Denis, but Parc des Princes. And then we got named. And that was it.
That was the Arsenal game I ever cried. I cried.
I cried. I cried because the reason why I cried was thinking, again, it just isn't right. Last kick of the game, it was how he scored. Look, and I just want to go on record. I have no blame. That was because I consider that. I did not consider that being a goalkeeping mistake. It was a great goal by Naeem. If he tried it again, he wouldn't score again. But
once in a lifetime. What I'm saying that Ronaldinho did David Seaman naughty as well at the World Cup, didn't he?
Definitely. I think that's a big
angle.
And then we had the Bruce Rioch years where I just thought he was never the right fit. I've been to a few games. I was a regular season ticket holder then, and I went to games, and then before you know it, it was one of those seasons where I felt, you know what, I just wanted this season to win. We didn't like win anything. We came sixth. Sorry, came fifth because we managed to finish above our rivals again. and then I do remember the only highlight of the season is that we got Dennis Bergkamp. And I remember Dennis Bergkamp struggling in his first few games. But then,
everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
I remember the day we signed him. I'll never forget that, right? I remember the day we signed him.
Best day of my life.
Yeah. I come home from school, right? And my old man said to me, Arsenal has signed Dennis Bergkamp today. I said, nah. You're chatting rubbish. Because obviously Bergkamp then was just like, wow, this is like a world. This is like a Ronaldo or a Messi or someone back then, isn't it? That big a star, yeah. And I was like, you're chatting rubbish. And then the news came on that evening, and it said, oh, Arsenal have completed the transfer signing for £7.5 million for Dennis Bergkamp. I was like, no way.
I couldn't believe it. It was, you know what? No word of violence. It was the best day of my life. And you know the only sign that gave me the excitement, believe it or not, bloody Mesut Ozil. And look how that's turned out. But
oh dear. Do you know what, Kenny? I think we should stop it right there. We'll do a part 2 and we'll carry on from there because we've gone for an hour already. Although
so we do a part 2.
It's nearly midnight where I am, hence why I'm.
So we do. We need to find a time to do a part 2, and the part 2's got to be. We have to impress us.
Yeah.
The reason why we got to do the Wenger is because, like, he is our most famous manager. But one thing I'm going to leave you with, I'm going to leave you with this. Let me leave you with this, right?
Go on.
I didn't wake up one day and decided I wanted Arsene Wenger to go, because you know how much I loved Arsene Wenger. I loved the man. If Arsene Wenger told me to go face the wall, I would do it. You know why I would do it? Not because you got to go and face the wall. Because Arsene told me that, because I was like everyone else. I was Arsene knows best. I said Wenger knows. And let me tell you something now. I had my misgivings about his reign for 2 or 3 years, but because it was him, I pushed him out of my mind. I loved that man. I would have walked on broken glass at that man. You know why I loved him? Because he gave me some of the best memories of life.
Even that, mate, Thierry Henry. Doubles, the unbeaten. We'll go through them. Save it. Save it.
But one thing we'll say about Arsene Wenger. One thing I'll say about Arsene Wenger is, right, if you told me worship to want him replaced and go on the marches to get him out, I'd have thought you're lying. It still works now, because for someone who you loved, for you to turn against the man to the extent that you can't, you walked out of a stadium because you couldn't face
him celebrating his
being called a hypocrite, celebrating his days, because you were still angry with the man because of his demise. I was actually angry with him because he went in decline. I was angry at him because he went in decline. The club went in decline, and I'm angry he's turned me, for someone that used to love him, into that, and I'm angry with him for that. But that's another show.
Do you know what? Yeah, we'll save that. That's a nice little cliffhanger to leave it on. I used to call him God. Yeah, real talk. I used to say that's God right there. That guy is God. That guy's a genius. Yeah, and it's sad. Listen, I'm going to zip it before I go. Yeah, we'll save it. We're saying, Kenny, listen, man, we've done 59 minutes, down history lane, memory lane, And mate, I love you, bruv. I love you to bits, You always, man. Yeah, and you're a kind guy. You were my bodyguard at games that way.
Definitely. Well, the thing is, right, you need to let me know when you're free, because I'll be, obviously Saturday's match day, but I'll be free on Sunday, anytime on Sunday. But you need to let me know whether you've got to do any, like, you know, like sangria tasting, or eating paella, or basically having dipping your toes in the pool and having a sunset and going to the gym. You know, you're a busy man, innit? Like, make sure the man hobby.
I don't do the gym. I let them listen, mate. I'm 10 stone dripping wet, as you know, mate. Yeah. The only person
I've met you.
Yeah, the only person I've seen with skinnier legs than me is Deontay Wilder. Yeah, but we won't go down that route.
Well, like I said, don't do a boxing podcast because you know my good friends Terry Davis and Johnny Buttons have already got that sorted out. And remember, Colin Neal, aka Heavy D, he ain't going to be too happy with you because the trouble is that if you do the boxing podcast, you'll probably be successful with that as well.
He'll want to fight me, and he's bigger than me. But listen, Kenny,
Colin, yeah,
go on, mate.
part two, yeah.
Yeah,
so
part
we
two.
do
Kenny, I love this, man.
Yeah, when are you going to be free? When are you going to be free?
Well, listen, I do my streams. Obviously, I'm an hour ahead. It's 10 to midnight here. Yeah. I do my streams at 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock UK time every day. But this weekend coming, i.e., the weekend we were ticking into, I'm doing back-to-back watch-alongs on Super Sunday. So,
of course you are.
Yeah, we're going watch-along, king of watch-alongs. But daytime, daytime, any day up to any time during the day. Listen, we'll text each other. Yeah,
text each other on Sunday. Sunday would be a great day for do part two because I think Arsene Wenger deserves another hour. He deserves it.
At least, come on. Exactly. We've got the Arsene Wenger days, and then we've got Freddie. Well, Freddie's 5 minutes, and then we've got Arteta at the reins right now. But yeah, mate, listen, we've done an hour and 1 minute.
Yeah,
going down some memories, man. So yeah, listen, we'll come back. We'll do part two.
All right.
About the Wenger days, and I totally agree with what you just said. By the way, some of the best memories of Arsenal Football Club were because of that man. People just get it a little bit twisted, didn't they? But there we go.
Yeah.
But listen,
anyway,
thank you very much for coming on, and let me end this right now. And